I'm 79 years old, and most mornings I wake up to a quiet that feels heavier than it should. It's not the peaceful kind. It's the kind that sits with you even after you get out of bed. I'm telling this now because I don't have much time left to pretend I don't understand it. I finally see why I feel so alone. And I don't want to take this understanding with me without saying it out loud. At my age, you think back more than you look forward. Not because you want to live in the past, but because the future has become very small. There are only so many mornings left where you get to make coffee or watch the sun hit the window just right. I'm not telling this for sympathy. I've had enough of that in my life. I'm saying it because if someone had spoken this honestly to me when I was younger, I might have listened. Or maybe I wouldn't have. That's part of the truth too. Right now, I live alone. The house isn't big, but it feels bigger than it used to. Rooms stretch when there's no one to talk to. Time stretches too. Some days go by without my voice being used at all. I'll realise in the evening that I haven't spoken since the morning, not even to myself. People assume loneliness comes from being unloved. That isn't always true. Sometimes it comes from being busy for too long. When I was young, I didn't think I'd end up here. None of us do. I thought life would stay full simply because it always had been. In my 20s, I was full of energy and plans. Not dreams exactly, plans. I had a job that demanded a lot from me. Long hours, constant pressure, people counting on me. I took pride in that. Back then, being needed felt like love. Being busy felt like purpose. And I mistook both for connection. I wasn't careless. I wasn't cruel. I was responsible. I paid my bills. I showed up to work. I did what I said I would do. From the outside, my life looked solid, dependable, respectable. I told myself I'd slow down later. I told myself there would be time. There was always a reason to postpone things that mattered. A deadline, a promotion, a project that just needed a little more attention. I remember coming home late, tired but satisfied. I'd sit at the table and eat whatever was there, sometimes alone, sometimes with someone who had already learned not to expect much conversation. I thought being physically present was enough. I didn't realise how often my mind was still at work. When friends called, I'd say I'd get back to them. When family wanted to visit, I'd suggest another weekend. Everything could wait. And it did. For years. In my 30s and 40s, life sped up. Responsibilities multiplied quietly. I didn't notice the cost at first. Relationships don't usually break with a loud sound. They wear thin. They fade. I missed birthdays without realising how many I'd already missed. I postponed trips until the idea of them felt strange. I answered questions with half-listening nods. I wasn't trying to push people away. I just assumed they'd still be there. I remember a conversation with someone I loved. They said, "You're always busy, even when you're not." I laughed it off. I told myself they didn't understand how much pressure I was under, how important my work was, how necessary all of it seemed. Looking back, I don't think they were asking me to quit my job. I think they were asking me to show up. But I didn't hear that. Or maybe I heard it and chose not to answer. Years pass faster than you expect. That's not something you really understand until they're gone. One day you're planning for the future. The next, you're surprised by how much of it has already happened. The damage wasn't sudden. That's the part that makes it harder to see. It was a missed dinner here, a postponed visit there, a conversation that started with, "I'll call you tomorrow." Tomorrow kept moving. I told myself I was doing this for stability, for security, for everyone. But stability doesn't mean much when no one is sitting next to you to enjoy it. The turning point didn't come with drama. It came quietly. Someone got sick. Someone I assumed I had more time with. I visited when I could. I sat beside them and realized how little I knew about their inner world anymore. There were things we never talked about, not because we fought, but because we kept waiting for the right moment. The right moment never came. When they passed, there was no unfinished argument, just unfinished closeness. I stood at the funeral and felt something I didn't expect. Not just grief, distance. I realized how long it had been since we had really spoken. Not about schedules or responsibilities, but about life. After that, things started to fall quiet one by one. People drifted. Some passed away. Some stopped calling. I didn't blame them. I understood, too late, how easy it is to let someone slip out of your daily life. Retirement came, and with it a strange emptiness. The structure I had built my identity around disappeared overnight. I thought I'd feel relieved. Instead, I felt exposed. There was nothing left to hide behind. No meetings, no deadlines, just time. And time, when you spent your life avoiding it, can feel unbearable. I tried to fill my days, hobbies, errands, television playing in the background. But noise doesn't replace presence. I'd sit in my chair and think about conversations I never had, words I assumed I'd say later. Later had run out. Some nights I imagine what my life would sound like if I had chosen differently. Not a perfect life, just a fuller one. More shared meals, more listening, more moments that didn't feel rushed. I don't hate my younger self. That's important to say. He did what he thought was right. He believed providing, achieving, and being reliable was love. No one tells you that love also needs attention. Time. Stillness. You don't realize that relationships need maintenance the same way careers do. Ignore them long enough and they stop working. Now, at 79, the world feels smaller. People don't ask much of you anymore. You stop being needed. And if you built your life around being useful, that can feel like disappearing. Loneliness isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's just the absence of small things. No one calling to tell you about their day. No one asking your opinion. No one noticing if you're tired. You start to wonder how you'll be remembered. Not in grand ways, but in daily ones. Was I easy to talk to? Did people feel seen with me? Did I make room for them? Those questions arrive late, but they arrive. There are things that can't be fixed now. Time doesn't negotiate. I can't go back and show up to dinners I missed. I can't reopen conversations that were never started. Some doors close without noise. You don't notice until you reach for the handle. That's the truth I live with. I don't say this to burden you. I say it because if you're listening, you still have something I don't. Time. If you're younger, you probably think you understand this already. I thought I did too. But knowing something and living it are different things. I wish I had known that success doesn't sit with you when you're old. People do. I wish I had known that being busy can become a habit you don't know how to break. and that it costs more than it gives. If you take anything from this, let it be simple. Pay attention to who is still calling you, who still wants your time. Not out of obligation, but because one day that wanting disappears. I'm not asking you to change your life overnight. I never could. I'm just asking you to notice it, before noticing becomes regret. As for me, I'm learning to accept where I am. Acceptance doesn't mean peace every day, it just means honesty. I make my coffee. I sit by the window. I let the quiet be what it is. Some days it hurts, some days it doesn't. But now I understand why it's here. If this meant something to you, if any part of it felt familiar, you're welcome to let me know. You can share your thoughts, your objections, or your own experiences. If you found value in this, a quiet like or a subscription helps these stories reach others. You can turn on the bell if you want to hear more, and if you have a story of your own, you're free to share it. I don't have many days left to tell stories like this, but as long as I can speak, I'll tell the truth. That's all I have left to give.